I am CA Nikita Agarwal. First of all, I would like to thank Sunit sir and Ahmedabad branch for giving me the honor to introduce CA Durgesh Pandey sir, because I have also got the privilege to learn forensic audit aspects from him as his student. CA Durgesh Pandey sir is doctorate in forensic accounting from prestigious National Forensic Science University, India, and a certified fraud examiner from ACFE, USA. His exclusive practice is in domain of forensic investigation of financial crime and dispute resolution since 1.5 decades. He has conducted investigation on 200 plus cases on this. Today, Durgesh sir will talk on activating true resolution forensic audits PFU transactions. Before that, I would like to request CA Parag Seth to felicitate the faculty with memento.
A very good afternoon to all of you. So, I was told I am getting a difficult session post lunch. ठीक है, होता है, आसान भी मिलता है, कठिन भी मिलता है, ये तो जीवन है। आईपी का काम तो ऐसा ही है, पर अब आसान वाला खत्म हो गया, अब तो सारा कठिन वाला ही रह गया। Yes, so this is a topic एक्टिवेटिंग ट्रू रिजोल्यूशन। इतना बढ़िया नाम दिया है, इसको मैंने डिज़ाइन किया है। उसमें मेरे ऑफिस में जब मैंने हमारे असिस्टेंट को बोला जरा मदद करो भाई स्टैटिस्टिक्स खोजो, तो पहले तो क्या वो एक्रोनिम लिया ATR। बोला सर सब खोज लिया, कहीं मिल ही नहीं रहा है कि ATR का मतलब क्या है, कौन से एक्ट में क्या है। मैंने बोला कि ये सुनीत भाई का क्रिएशन है, ये कहीं नहीं मिलेगा। So, today I have around 30 minutes. 40 minutes. We'll complete within 30 minutes. जल्दी खत्म करने का कोशिश करेंगे। कुछ क्वेश्चन आंसर अगर होंगे तो वो डिस्कस करेंगे। ऐसे ही भोजन के बाद का समय कठिन होता है। आप लोग कुछ पूछते पाछते रहेंगे तो मैं भी जागते हुए रहूँगा। तो एजेंडा में है, we will be discussing something about the frauds, role of forensic and transaction audit, and PFU transaction, of course. As we have a group of insolvency professionals, we understand that this is pretty much known to all of you, and I would like to discuss a case. Case exactly तो इंसॉल्वेंसी का नहीं है, मतलब मेरा अपॉइंटमेंट किसी आरपी से नहीं हुआ था, मेरे पास तो इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस विंग से केस आया था, पर प्रिंसिपल कंपनी जो थी मेरे पास फोर्थ लेयर सब्सिडी का मेरे पास इन्वेस्टिगेशन था जो 1300 करोड़ का अमाउंट डिस्प्यूट का था। तो आप सोच सकते हैं दैट व्हाट इज द, आई एम सॉरी, आई होप ओकेशनल हिंदी विल बी ओके और आई ट्राई टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश। Yes, don't worry. I'll speak entirely in English. So sorry, I was just carried away. So that is why I spoke in Hindi, but then I'll speak in English. So sorry. Yes, so I was telling that the 1,300 crore was the amount involved for the fourth layer subsidiary. So you can imagine the amount which must be at the third, second, and the principal company. It's a very known case of insolvency. I'll not give more profiling, otherwise you'll start taking names. So, that is the case which I would like to discuss. Some very innovative, creative accounting that was done. And then, yesterday I read my entire report again. So, I give a pat on my back that हमने बहुत अच्छा काम किया, we did very good work. Anyways, let us move ahead. Yeah, before that, we call this as transaction audit or forensic audit. That is the popular nomenclature that we use. But let me start this with a small clarification and request that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, our mother institute, has come up with forensic accounting and investigation standards. So we have 20 forensic accounting and investigation standards plus 3 overarching document. So 23 documents we have, and the name of the publication or the name of the set of standards is Forensic Accounting and Investigation Standards. Those are mandatory to be followed by all chartered accountants who are into investigative service. And the IBC investigations are covered under those standards. Now, why do I say this and why it is important and relevant? Because I have seen and I have interacted in the morning. We have some bankers, very senior bankers with us. For them, I'll tell you, sir, there was no mechanism to benchmark the investigative service. There's no standard. There was no mechanism to benchmark. This puts pressure on both me as an investigator, you as a stakeholder. Because I don't have anything to fall back upon. Say if you ask me as to whether you have checked this portion or not, I don't have a framework. It is my wisdom which decides as to what should be the depth of my investigation, what should be the depth that I should go. Now we have a benchmark, now we have a standard. Of course, those are principle-based standards, very high-level standards, but we have something that also insulates me if I have a question being asked by one of the law enforcement agency. Say tomorrow if CBI asks me a question कि आपने ये क्यों नहीं देखा? Why did you not see this aspect? I can fall back upon my standards that as per my standards, I am supposed to notice all these things and I have checked all these things. So that is a fallback mechanism on me. And as a stakeholder, you are at a position where the minimum level of service delivery is affixed and there is a matching of mind. You would know कि इतना तो इनको देखना ही देखना है. So that is the gap that the standard has filled. Now, why so much about the standards? Because the standards don't have the word forensic audit in it. So we don't call it, the standards don't call it forensic audit, they call it forensic accounting and investigation service. So wherever accounting skills are involved, it is forensic accounting. Wherever operational level investigative skills are involved, it is called as investigation. This is so that the stakeholders are not confused between assurance, that is a traditional audit, and forensic audit. We have to understand, again, before I go into the statistics that you see on the screen, there is a perception amongst the regulator, that includes everyone, the law enforcement agencies, the bankers, and credit rating, everyone. It is presumed that once the financial statements are audited, the books of accounts become sacrosanct, है ना, पवित्र हो जाते हैं, सही हो जाते हैं. चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ने देख लिया है, ऑडिट किया हुआ है. To some extent, that expectation may be correct. वो अपेक्षा कुछ हद तक सही है. But at this instance, I would like to clarify. Please understand, the mandate of a chartered accountant is not to find frauds. And if you see the statistics, I don't know whether I have that statistics or not, but in 95% of the cases, efforts are put in to conceal the frauds. What do we mean by that? In 95% of the cases, a debit is being covered by a credit. A fictitious asset is being covered by a fictitious liability. Now, the audit procedures are designed to find material misstatement, material error. The audit procedures are not designed to find frauds. I hope you understand and appreciate this difference. It may be very small, but it casts a lot of responsibility on the investigator. The moment we talk about investigation, the landscape changes, because there is a presumption of guilt. There is a presumption that something may be untrue. Okay? With that presumption, the case starts. And then, मैं तो इन्वेस्टिगेशन करता हूँ, बहुत सारा काम हम पुलिस के लिए करते हैं, और हमारे पास तो विदेशों में जब काम करते हैं, when we work abroad, then when a case comes to you, you cannot start your investigation with a biased mindset that something is wrong. ऐसा presumption नहीं मान सकते कि fraud हुआ ही है. But knowing our country, in our country, we have a saying in Hindi, पानी जब सिर से ऊपर चला जाता है, यहाँ नहीं, इतना ऊपर से चला जाता है तब केस बाहर आता है. तो it is fair to say कि आप शुरू कर सकते हो thinking that something may be wrong. Okay. Now, in such situations, we have to understand that there are multiple stakeholders in the game. Okay. So, what I want to say is that the financial statement don't start and end with just the P&L in the balance sheet. There is a lot of complaint where a lot of stakeholders, of course other than chartered accountants, they say that chartered accountant ने financial statement में clearly disclose नहीं किया है. अगर हम disclose करते तो बात बिगड़ता नहीं. ठीक है, ऐसा एक thought process है, ऐसा बहुत सारे लोग complain करते हैं, people complain that. Now, see, I'll tell you, please understand that we are in a, what do I say? We are on a precarious path where we walk on a sword. I understand somebody is talking louder than me. कोई बात कर रहा है जो मुझसे तेज बात कर रहा है, मैं माइक पे बात कर रहा हूँ फिर भी. कौन साहब हैं इतना बढ़िया बोलना चाहते हैं, हम भी सुनना उनको पसंद करेंगे. ये पिलर रोक दिया है, नहीं तो अब तक तो चुप हो गए होते हैं. बताओ, खाना खाने के बाद आप लोग इतने सारे लोग इतना प्रेम से मुझे सुन रहे हैं, मुझे इतना अच्छा लग रहा है. और आई होप सारे लोग सुन ही रहे हैं, क्योंकि दूर हो गया, उम्र भी 40 हो गई है. पहले तो क्या विजन शार्प था, अब तो कोई झपकी वपकी ले तो ऐसे दिखता नहीं है. पहले देख लेता था. पहले तो क्या ऐसे मोबाइल में मैसेज भी करते थे ना, तो चेहरा पढ़ के पता चल जाता था कि घर से है, बाहर से है, कहाँ से मैसेज है. खाली फेस से ही पता चल जाता था. एनीवेज, लेट मी कम बैक. Yes.
Your role is investigating. You have to be sharp.
You know, this sharpness is not good at all the times. But then that is the story for some other day. Yes. So, I don't know what I was telling. So, what I was telling is that the balance sheet does not end with the profit and loss in the balance sheet. I mean, the financial statements don't end with the profit and loss in the balance sheet. We have to peruse everything and we have to learn to read everything, because कोई चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट अपने करियर को जेओपर्डाइज नहीं करेगा. बैलेंस शीट में कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स में, सिग्निफिकेंट अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज में कहीं ना कहीं पैराग्राफ डाला हुआ रहेगा जो गड़बड़ है. ठीक है, लेट अस कम बैक टू द स्टैटिस्टिक्स. सो 5% ऑफ ग्लोबल रेवेन्यू इज लॉस्ट टू frauds. 5% of global revenue is lost to frauds. I'm telling 5% of global revenue, not profits. So pegging the global revenue to $90 trillion, the size of fraud is $4.5 trillion. We are aspiring to become a $5 trillion economy. The size of fraud is as big as the economy that we are aspiring to. That is the industry. Now, one statistics which is interesting here, that bankrupt companies are 3 times more likely to have cited for fraud by the US regulator according to the study. So companies which go bust, companies which go belly up, companies which go bankrupt, they are 3 times more susceptible to commit frauds. And you know, an average financial statement fraud lasts for 18 months before being uncovered. 18 महीने तक फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉड का स्कीम चलते रहता है और 18 महीने बाद ऊपर आता है. So at least for 18 months it goes. Now, why these statistics? These statistics are important because the fraud is a systematic activity where the top management is involved. We always say that, for investigation we say focus on non-financial data. I don't have that in today's presentation, but we say focus on non-financial data. See, Enron, WorldCom, ये सब तो क्या लैंडमार्क है, फॉर्डर है हमारे लिए कि कुछ भूल जाओ तो इनको डिस्कस करने लग जाओ. Enron, WorldCom. So a question was asked to the CEO of WorldCom as to, didn't you feel something odd that your turnover and your profits in the books were increasing and your employee counts was decreasing? The employee count was decreasing and the turnover was constantly increasing. How is this possible? Now when I say this is the power of non-financial data. As accountants, as people with numbers, we are too obsessed with financial data. When we do investigation, we are too obsessed with financial data. Balance sheet, stock, debtors. We are too obsessed. We were investigating a case for Enforcement Directorate. I was told that lagbhag 300 crores, almost 300 crores worth asset, rather stock, was written off. So they told that this must be sold in cash or it must be siphoned off separately. Okay. Now, the company was not manufacturing a retail product. The company was manufacturing a product which was a regulated product and which was used in industrial application. Most of the industry which is buying that product are government-owned entities. Okay. So what is the probability of the product being consumed when substantial number of buyers are government-owned entity in cash? क्या सिंक नहीं होता है? I hope you are getting what I am trying to say. Stock loss हो गया, कैश में बेच दिए, सिंक नहीं होता है. The problem is that what I told that let us look at the sales, let us look at the purchase. The stock that you say has been sold in cash, according to me वो कभी stock रहा ही नहीं होगा, वो आया ही नहीं होगा. वो क्या है? See, we had the statistics. I don't know, do we have that? No. So in 68% of the cases, revenue is manipulated. Okay? Turnover, sales, that is exaggerated. Sales is exaggerated. Now when sale is manipulated and when you have a robust ERP, SAP, R3, S4, HANA, okay, Microsoft Dynamics, Navision, if you have a, this top tier ERP, then you can only book sales if you have stock. Otherwise the ERP stops you from booking sales. Now, how can you have stock? When you purchase, that is the way you create stock. So, in order to falsify the sale, purchase would also have been falsified. GP ratio तो maintain करना है ना, खाली सेल बुक करेंगे और परचेज नहीं होगा तो GP ratio नहीं maintain होगा. So to maintain the GP ratio, false purchases were also booked, and then by virtue of those purchases, you had stock, non-existent stock. वो जब भी ऑडिटर बोले वेरीफाई करने का है, तो ऐसा सिचुएशन क्रिएट किया जाए, ऐसा सिचुएशन बताया जाए कि वो तो that is on an island put in midst of, Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. वहाँ तो समुद्र से ही जाया जा सकता है, समुद्र में नाव से ही जाया जा सकता है, और इस समय मौसम बहुत रफ है, you cannot go there. Or sometimes you see that the company will be having, the principal company will have 3 sub-companies or sister concerns amongst them, and all the stock will be kept together. So you will be told to draw imaginary line. ये सारा स्टॉक पड़ा हुआ है. Draw imaginary line. To left of this is stock what you want. नहीं साहब ये तो कम है, अच्छा कम है तो इसमें 2-4 बोरा और चला गया होगा, यहां से देख लीजिए. You know, this is what practically happens. Now, about that case. So, as we understand that in 68% of the cases, we had inflation of revenue. Inflation of revenue. Now, to compensate that revenue, we had purchase. To compensate that purchase, stock. And please understand, nothing was sold in cash. It was just that non-existent stock which was written off. Okay? So, we have to devise and we have to think of innovative techniques. Innovative techniques. You know, I have a saying, same set of procedures applied to same set of data will give same results. Same set of procedures applied to same set of data will give you same results. So there has to be out of the box thinking. Okay. Now, you know, this is need for transaction audit, structured presentation need, but I think I should discuss the case. That is more important. Need with तो ठीक है. I am not discussing the sections because I presume that all of us know the section. Okay, so 43, 45, 49, 50, 66. I am not discussing all this. I hope we are good. Okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, here. So, this is the case I was telling, and some innovation that was used by the promoters for this company, something which I also found it new. Now there were 4-5 layer step-down subsidiaries. Company A was owning 100% shareholding of company B. Company B again held 100% shareholding of company C. Company C held again 100% shareholding of company D. Company D was split into two parts. That is, it owned two companies. That way, 4 or 5 layers of subsidy was there. Now, a private bank had extended a loan of about 180 million euros, if I am not wrong. I mean, let us not go to the absolute number, 1,200 crore, 1,300 crore, let us presume that. Okay. So, 1,200 crore was the amount of loan that was extended. The allegation was that, of course, money is not being used for the purpose of the business, and breach of loan covenant. There was a covenant that if any of the subsidiary company is sold, okay, so in this chain, the banker had advanced loan to second layer, not the principal company, but the second layer. Okay, there are also parallel companies in UK in the same name. So we had A India Limited, and then we had A UK Limited, B India Limited, B UK Limited. Okay. Now, there was a loan covenant which said that if company D sells any business, whatever revenue is realized from company D would be after paying debts of company D. After paying debts of company D, if the asset of company D is sold, then of course company C, after paying the debts of company C, the balance would be remitted to the banker. Okay, the balance would be remitted to the banker. Simple loan covenant. Now, in this situation, not going into the numbers and the jugglery, what did they do? They induced capital reduction in the company. They induced capital reduction, So the existing shareholders' shareholding went down because of the capital reduction, and they introduced preference share of similar amount. Preference shares of similar amount. So at the end of the balance sheet, the capital was the same. However, equity was replaced by preference. And as we know, in the waterfall mechanism, preference comes before equity. Okay, preference comes before equity. People go to such extent in order to commit fraud. The balance sheets that were submitted to the banker, and the balance sheets that we downloaded from House of Companies HMRC, UK, you know, Her Majesty, Her Majesty Crowne, basically registrar of companies, हमारे यहाँ का MC. When we downloaded the balance sheet, we found the figures different. बैंक में जो सबमिट किया हुआ है, that is different when we compared with the balance sheets that we downloaded from HMRC. Another thing, for consolidation, the auditor was insistent that we will be taking the balance sheets, the Indian auditor was insistent that we will be taking balance sheets only which is submitted by the auditor himself, the UK based auditor. So the UK based auditor has to give the balance sheet. That was the internal control that the Indian auditor told. So there's a company, say Raffinger. So the original auditor's name was Raffinger. The email ID was something samuel@raffinger.co.uk. But all the emails received by the auditor were from samuel@raffinger.net. Blatant forgery. I mean, once you discover it becomes very simple. But blatant forgery. So, fraudulent domain names were used in order to send the email to the company. Okay? In order to send email to the auditors. We did search the WIRC data. Of course, the .net domain was long deleted. The .co.uk domain was there since 944 days as on date when we investigated. So fraudulent emails were sold. In fact, in order to assure the auditors in UK, the company added one sentence, not even one sentence, couple of words in the addendum to the loan arrangement letter. There was an addendum issued to the loan arrangement letter where the bank said that, why ABCL/2014/this addendum to the arrangement letter issued dated 14/1 whatsoever. And then few words were added. For additional facility of 60 million euro. These were the words added. They didn't change anything else. Only for additional facility of 60 million euros. So, this is how a complex fraud where preferences were extended, blatantly emails were forged, documents were forged. I mean, you have to have audacity and courage. Manipulating accounts and accounting entry एक बात होता है कि ठीक है, रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर को कैपिटल क्लासिफाई कर दिया, deferred revenue को revenue classify कर दिया, that is one thing. But you have to have courage and audacity to send emails from a fraudulent mail ID, to forge the sanction letter or the arrangement letter. I mean, it was good for us as investigator. हमको तो इतने hard evidence मिले, irrefutable evidence मिले, case इतना मजबूत हो गया. But imagine the extent to which the business owners go in order to, materialize their devious plans. That is the extent they fall in stupid. Okay? That was about the case. This is how we found out. It was a interesting case. I thought this was something new which I could have shared. It had all the element, preferential transactions and fraudulent transactions. Undervalued नहीं था, but बाकी सब था. Okay? I understand. I have completed my 30 minutes which I said. If you have any questions, please feel free. Yes, sir.
सर ये तो इंटरवल से पहले वाली स्टोरी, इंटरवल के बाद की वाली स्टोरी. जैसे you have identified the fraud, now the recovery of fraud, because the IMC there are substantial there is expectation that recovery come. So you should shed some light on that.
Yeah. So first I'll tell his question what he said and then I'll try to answer. The answer is not very interesting, but still. First his question is very interesting. So he said that I told only one part of the story. The picture before interval, that was the exact terminology that he used. कि कैसे fraud खोज लिया, admit हो गया. Now he is interested in asking as to how was the money recovered. So, sir, my mandate ended by giving the report. उसके बाद तो फिर आरपी का काम है ना. आप इंटरिम एप्लीकेशन फाइल करो एनसीएलटी में, एसएफआईओ को बुलाओ, पुलिस को बोलो, सीबीआई को बोलो, जिसको मर्जी उसको बोलो. हमने तो रिपोर्ट दे दिया, पैसा आ गया, खत्म, कहानी खत्म. तभी तो मैंने आईपी नहीं किया, क्योंकि मुझे इतना ही हेडेक पालना था. इसके बाद वाला हेडेक नहीं पालना था. एंड नॉट ऑन अ लाइटर नोट, ऑन अ सीरियस नोट आई टेल यू समथिंग. जो चला जाता है वो चला जाता है, वापस नहीं आता है. So the sooner you have this belief, I'm so sorry, we have some very.
सिर्फ करने वाला मैक्सिमम जेल जाता है, उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होता.
और कितने टाइम तक जेल जाता है?
कितने परसेंटेज जाते हैं?
कपूर साहब कितने टाइम तक जेल जाता है?
कितने परसेंट जाते हैं?
ये तो क्या है, हम प्रोफेशनल हैं, पढ़े लिखे हैं, हमारा क्या कहते हैं, वैल्यूज और एथिक्स स्ट्रॉन्ग है, और हमको ऐसा लगता है कि 100 करोड़ में एक साल के लिए क्या जाया जाए. कभी मैं सोचता हूँ, अपने मन को मनाता हूँ, कभी ऐसा एथिक्स से कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर ले, 85 करोड़ में चलो 6 महीना चले जाए. तो 50 करोड़ छोटा थोड़ी है, उतनी तो प्रैक्टिस जीवन भर में नहीं होगी, है ना. तो सर आपके प्रश्न का जवाब मुझे नहीं, मेरे पास नहीं है. कपूर साहब से पूछ सकते हैं. इन्होंने बड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड जैसे निपुण में से पूछ सकते हैं. इतने गोली जने मेरे पास आएंगे सारे, है ना. कठिन सवाल उनके लिए रखिए, मेरे लिए तो आसान सवाल रखिए. यस प्लीज. हाँ जी बोलिए.
Sir, 43, 45 and 50, these sections are for the recovery against the third party, generally. And 66 is the fraud against the promoters. Supreme Court judgment says the 66 we can file a application only against the promoters. Suppose in a case, if by siphoning of a money, fund has been transferred to third party, non-related party, maybe external transaction. So whether for the single transaction, application under 45 and 60 both can be filed together, or we have to choose one out of two.
See, first of all, to be frank and honest, मेरी मर्यादा आईबीसी में ये 4-5 सेक्शन की थी, ठीक है. तो जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट को आपने साइड किया, साहब वो मुझे पता नहीं, ठीक है. अब आप प्रोसीजरल प्रश्न पूछ रहे हैं कि इंटरिम एप्लीकेशन जो है या मिसलेनियस एप्लीकेशन जो है वो कौन से सेक्शन में फाइल कर सकते हैं.
नहीं सर, रिपोर्ट भी अगर देते हैं तो रिपोर्ट में अगर सेक्शन में डिफाइन करते हैं एक्टिविटी, तो उसके बेस पे एप्लीकेशन फाइल होती है. विद दैट एप्लीकेशन टू बी रिपोर्टेड अंडर बोथ द सेक्शन 45 and 66, or we take 66 prior to 45.
See, I'll tell you, section 66 is pervasive. Okay. Under 45 again you have a restriction of the clawback period, or as we say look back period. Clawback period is a global concept. We have look back period. So 45 का look back period आपका curtailed हो जाता है. अब ये आपको strategically apply करना पड़ेगा. You have to apply the section strategically. But yes, of course, the inherent nature of the transaction should be the first thing which you decide. So 45 is for undervalued transaction. If there is an element of intentional deceit, that is the fraud that is defined under the various acts. We don't have fraud defined under single act, not under Indian Penal Code. So, if there is an element of intentional deceit, only then it qualifies for fraud, and only then it qualifies for an application under section 66.
Along with 45.
I am talking 60. Fraud हुआ तो ही 45 में fraud नहीं है, 45 में undervalue.
नहीं सर, मैंने fraudulently मेरे friend को 100
तो
rupees का
49
सामान
होगा. हाँ, तो 49 आपका होगा.
हाँ 49 के साथ.
Correct? Am I correct? I am not a resolution professional. निपुण भाई मदद करना. हाँ, 49 हुआ ना, अगर fraudulently undervalued है तो 45 भी हो सकता है. बस we have the professional view. देखो बिना पैसे के मिल गया.
नहीं, रिपोर्ट में सर दोनों क्लोज में कवर करेंगे ना.
भी देखिए, जो मेरा अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, मैं ऐसा मान रहा हूँ, अगर अंडरवैल्यूड है, सिर्फ अंडरवैल्यूड है, तो 45 होगा. If there is an element of fraud, then we can apply 49. 66 is permissive. I understand 66 तो कहीं पर भी fraud का element है, तो आप दोनों अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. दोनों अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. After that, I understand we have more competent people who can discuss the court craft and how it can be presented in the court and how it can be dealt by the court. Nipun bhai, Kapoor साहब, चौधरी साहब, they are in a better position to answer इसकी कोर्ट में इसका क्या होगा, है ना? हम तो बहुत छोटा 4 सेक्शन में खेलते हैं. Thank you.
आपका रिपोर्ट में वो show it as an undervalued transaction or a fraudulent transaction?
Which one?
When you are giving your policy.
Yeah. So if it is undervalued, see, if it is undervalued and we don't find an element of fraud, see, the moment we say fraud, please understand we are invoking a criminal act. Okay? To invoke a criminal act, the quality of evidence becomes different. Now, as chartered accountants, we are used to practicing in civil acts. The taxation acts are civil acts. So, in the civil acts, the quality of evidence is preponderance of justice. That is, the probability of occurrence should be more than the probability of non-occurrence, than 51%. So, if your evidence qualifies for 51%, then your evidence is an evidence, acceptable. Okay? But, to invoke a criminal action, the quality of evidence is beyond reasonable doubt. The moment we say beyond reasonable doubt, if there are 5 opinions possible, where 4 opinions are in favor of the person, 1 is against, you cannot invoke the against. It has to be invoked the 4-1. There is always benefit given that why do you presume that this is fraudulent unless and until you have a clinching evidence. So, it may sound very fancy and very glamorous to say that I have found a fraud of 2000 crores. Please understand, you can say this statement authoritatively only when your allegation stands the test of law. You can write anything in your report, ultimately you are signing it. You will get a reprimand on your list and then you will be gone. बहुत होगा, बैंकर बिगड़ जाएगा, आगे से काम नहीं देगा.
Basically, the benefit of doubt is going to the promoters.
Always. It's not just the promoters. In case of criminal act, it goes to the alleged, accused.
It is not only going against it is not in favor of the promoter, it is also going against the resolution process because these people are not cooperating even from 1992. Like they don't give the documents. What most the judge can do or the adjudicating authority can do, they'll give a direction. You go file a contempt application again. What next?
Madam,
There are so many applications we filed under 92, which is for them to support us and give their documents required. They don't give. We file a contempt application. Then after that, what?
Madam, whereas I agree with the sentiment, the spirit of the code does not say this, but being in civilized society, we are bound by law of the hand. That is why we have something called as a decree, and then we have something called as enforcement of the decree. So there there's an application filed so that the decree is enforced. Ideally, when a decree is issued, it is supposed to be enforced. That is the entire purpose of the judgment. But we also have applications for enforcement of the decree, don't we? And then there is contempt of court, and there is the eternal litigation, and then there is somebody dying, or the judge demitting office, and then it is heard afresh. So these are all the realities. Whereas I strongly subscribe to your sentiments, and I understand where you are coming from. But we are abided by this framework. We cannot go beyond that. It is bad, but जो है वो यही है. We really don't have a choice. We have to play under this ambit of law.
So some councils are advising them to not appear. Don't show your face. All the notices that sent, they bounce back. We can't even trace the promoters.
That is the, ironically, that is the situation. घंटी बज रहा है, मेरा टाइम खत्म हो गया ना. I know. गलती से बज रहा है. तो जान ही जाने वाला है. He's a friend, so I'm telling you, may deliberately ring the bell. No, it's always good to speak in Ahmedabad, you know. I get to see so many known faces. Yeah, that is a different issue. Every time I have to work hard because I have to come up with a new case. Because the audience is saying, all my friends, they know me and then they say that you don't work hard. You just play the same cassette. So I have to work for the case. Yesterday also, you know, my wife, वो मेरे बेटे को डांट रही थी. This time I speak in Hindi because I'm a native Hindi speaker and it's not subject matter. Okay. So वो मेरे बेटे को डांट रही थी कि तुम पढ़ोगे नहीं, फिर मुझे बोलेंगे 10 बजे तक पढ़ेगा. मैंने कहा मुझे तो खुद 10 बजे तक पढ़ना पड़ेगा. पढ़ने तो उसको डांट के पढ़ा रही हूँ, मैं बिना डांटे पढ़ रहा हूँ. Anyways, thank you so much for your patient hearing. You have a question? Yes, please.
Sir, recalling your both the case studies, if we consider the first case study where the fraudulent transaction were related to financial transaction, where fictitious purchase was like the accounted so as to showcase the fictitious sales, and the second transaction was like the fictitious emails and the domain was created. So my point is like where the fraudulent transactions are related to the financial transaction, can we like हम ऐसा बोल सकते हैं that auditor is responsible because if he would have applied the reasonable due diligence in the first case study, तो fraud कहीं ना कहीं वहीं पे detect हो जाता है. Like the third party confirmation, if the fictitious purchase were recorded, then the third party transaction or third party confirmations and everything that could have been applied. So what is your view like?
See, you are telling me to poke the bear. You know, let us not castigate any professional. कि auditor ने due diligence exercise नहीं किया. That also with limited set of information, that is hearsay for you. केस तो मैंने देखा, मुझे पूरा information नहीं मिला. आप तो मुझसे सुन रहे हो जो मैं बता रहा हूँ वही, तो आपको तो बिल्कुल ही information नहीं मिला है. इस basis पर we should not castigate a professional. Now, coming to your one point, that was that, I mean, did the auditor do everything that he would have done? The answer is absolutely no. And at least within this premises, we do have advocates, we do have bankers, but then as a chartered accountant, I'll say that our principal policies, our accounting standards are very strong. If they are followed in letter and spirit, probably 70-80% of the frauds can be reduced. They cannot be stopped. They can definitely be reduced. But it's a social science. लोग हैं, people get complacent, छूट जाता है, रह जाता है, कभी जल्दी भी होती है. अभी ये जो केस मैंने पहला वाला आपको बताया ना, स्टॉक लॉस, उसमें the revenues were 1,400 crores. 1,400 crores. And it was written that 700 crores is sale of bought out goods. Sale of bought out goods. Trading. Now, if some company has invested in an asset base of 400 crores, 500 crores, will it do trading of 700 crores? Does it, does it sound reasonable to you? So there are a lot of things.
Because in the second case study, where the intentions are modified, promoter's intention, तो आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा, गया हो सका गया, वो वापस नहीं आ सकता. But in the first case, what my perception like, it could have been detected. So thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Ajay.
Can I ask one question? Yeah.
Please.
So as you said that ICAI has come up with this forensic accounting and investigation standards, right? So 20 standards and 3 another
Overarching.
Yeah. So 20 standards and 3 other
some controlling factors. And you said to prove some avoidance transaction or preferential transaction, you require a reasonable doubt, something about reasonable doubt, so that you can file a report accordingly, and accordingly RP will be forming an opinion. So now, based on this standard, don't you think so the opposite party would challenge that this transaction auditor or the RP has not followed this transaction, so I want these are not sustainable in the court of law?
Yeah, so anything comes as a double-edged sword. Now, it depends on the acumen and skill of the advocate who is representing. वकील साहब डिसाइड करेंगे कि ऊंट किस तरफ बैठेगा. Now, if you follow the standards, and if you see the standards, the standard is divided into 5 parts. I am closely attached with the standard because I was part of the drafting committee and approval committee and everything. So
That is the reason actually.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So one of the section, so it starts with introduction and scope, then it has requirement objectives, then requirements and explanatory statements. Then we have a section called as documents of compliance. Now this is a section which is introduced first time in an Indian standard. What is meant by document for compliance? The document for compliance section enlists a list of documents which are maintained by the entity, by the person who has done the investigation to demonstrate conformance to the standard. So documents for compliance enlist a list of documents which are maintained by the professional to demonstrate conformance to the standard. So if you have your documents for compliance, then how will this allegation stand that you have not done your job? Okay? So it addresses that. We have taken care of that. I hope I had a lot of questions. I was not in the room, so I don't know. Sabhi session में इतने सारे सवाल जवाब हुए. But ठीक है. Okay. So, anyways, Sunit bhai said 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I suppose it is almost an hour. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. Thank you.